welcome back to my channel. Nice to see you guys here again. So I am going over a little bit, I'm doing things a little bit different today. I'm gonna go over what I spent on my refund that I got. So I got about $5,000 back from my income tax refund from last year. I do want to show you what I did with that money to break it down for you and explain why I chose those things to try to help you find what you want to do with your income tax money to better set you up for this year, the rest of this year. So if you'll look behind me, I do got my little sheets up here. Like I said, I put them up here behind me. I'm so excited. Okay, so this one right here is my savings tracker, and if you can see that my emergency fund savings is completely funded, as I said in my last video. So that's the first thing that I did with my income tax money. Very first thing, it came in, I took that money out and put it into my savings account for my emergency fund. This was very, very important to me because this is what's gonna help me stop being in debt. I'm in debt now, but this is gonna help me stop being or continuing to add debt to my debt. So this was very important to me. This is something that I touch if something in my car breaks down or and I have to replace any parts or anything like that. That's what this emergency fund is. This is not for, oh my gosh, I just want to go out to eat tonight, I'm gonna take it out of my emergency fund. No, ma'am. And then as soon as I do use some of this money, I'm gonna start working my way on putting it back in there as fast as I can, just to make sure that I am covered. It makes me feel so much better knowing that I have this money set aside than me realizing when it happens that I gotta come up with this big dollar amount, anywhere from $400 to $500-$600. That's gonna be devastating out of one paycheck. So I'm so happy that we have this set aside. And then my debt payoff, I have not updated it, but I'm gonna look at what I've paid off and make sure that is updated. So besides that, I took out $150 from one paycheck, as you saw in one of my videos. And then I got my income tax money, so then I put the other $850 in there. So that was one of the first things that I took out of my income tax. And then my husband took $1,000 to go spend on something that he really wanted to do. Set aside $2,000 originally for a new car investment because our car right now is on its last leg. Thank God it hasn't broken down yet. But we did set aside actually $2,400 for that new car, so I'm excited about that. Woo! I felt like I needed some newer clothes. I brought Grace, my daughter, some clothes, things like that. And so I spent about $200 on that, and then I put $300 towards my debt. So that's the part that I have not updated here, that I paid off some of my debt. Woohoo! So I did do that, and then about $495 was really our cushion in the bank account. We spent some of it on some food, you know, celebrating a little bit that we were okay with where our money was at this time. We're making more income, so we're feeling pretty good. That's a big margin there. $400 is kind of big for us anyway, but we have that as a cushion in our bank account. That way, in case one of our bills is a little bit higher than we expect, we're able to still cover that and not dip into this emergency fund, okay? Because like I said, this is only for emergencies, only if it's something like I don't have enough money to pay my rent, which should not be the case, but you know, emergency fund you don't touch unless you absolutely have to. With that being said, let me just say this. When your income tax money comes in, you're gonna want to sit down and really plan out what you're gonna do with that money, because I really could have took all this money and really attacked my debt, but it wouldn't have helped me in the long run because I didn't have an emergency fund yet. This emergency fund is extremely important, and I highly recommend it if you don't have one, to get one. Now, mine is set at $1,000. A lot of people say $1,000 is enough for your emergency fund. But I'm going to tell you right now, there are some people out there that also put $3,000 as their emergency fund. And that's because that they can live off of that $3,000 for at least a month, like for at least 2 to 3 months or something like that off of their bills on that emergency fund, just in case like someone loses a job or anything like that. People typically have higher emergency funds when their debt's paid off. So most people recommend that when you first start budgeting and planning and figuring out your money, they plan to put $1,000 as an emergency fund and then throw everything else towards your debt payoffs. And that is to get rid of this. So then once you get rid of your debt, you can use those payments to put into your savings for a higher emergency fund savings. Because truthfully and honestly, you should have at least 3 times what your rent is and your bills every month is in an emergency fund to have a fully funded emergency fund, or at least what most people consider the emergency fund. And that's because, again, if you lose your job, you get laid off. I know a lot of people got laid off this past year due to COVID and stuff, and that was devastating for some people. And I wish and I hope that some of those people or all of those people had an emergency fund savings that they were able to use and now are able to put back money into it now that most people are either getting their job back or finding other ways to make income. You know, you gotta do, as I always say with any budgeting video or anything about budgeting, is it is personally and completely up to you and your family and what is best for you guys. I cannot tell you that $1,000 is going to be enough for you. I can't tell you that $3,000 is going to be enough for you for an emergency fund. You really truly have to figure that out for yourself of what's best for your family. $1,000 is a good place to start until you at least pay off all your debt and then throw more into your emergency fund. The next steps after these two, which most financial people would tell you to do, is to start paying higher payments towards your monthly house payment, or to start saving for that college fund for your kid, or to put money towards your retirement, which all of those I feel are really, really important. Retirement and college fund especially, because a lot of families are not going to be able to pay for their kids' college just outright. And it's very difficult, and you can't always count on either scholarships or schools to pay for your kids' college. A lot of people don't get scholarships to school. But that's, and then say your child decides they don't want to go to college, that's being more of a thing that's going on, as a lot of people aren't going to college. They're just starting their own businesses kind of thing and learning as they go, which is no problem. I'm in that boat. So, it's always about what's best for your family and what's going to set you up to be successful in the future. And I want to help you understand where you stand with all of that. And I think retirement is really, really important if you want to be able to travel and do whatever you want to do when you're older, rather than still working while you're 50. Keep those things in mind. Take a look at what you're doing with your income tax money when it comes in. Well, you should have an idea of how much your income tax return is gonna be. You can already start planning that before it even hits your bank account. I was planning on what I was gonna do with this money way before I got it. I had to change my plans up a little bit, but at least I had a starting idea and plan of what I was gonna do. So I find that it's very important to plan ahead, think ahead. Just like with doing any paycheck every week, you're going to want to think about what you're going to use that money for if you don't already have a plan for it. And that's really what I like about the Budget Mom, Budget by Paycheck by the Budget Mom's book. Because you have a section for the budget part and then a section for the actual. So as soon as I'm done finalizing the budget and writing in what I actually spent on one paycheck, I'm actually going over to the next one and doing my budget for that one, so I know where I stand going forward. Just keep those things in mind, and I'll see you back next week. Thank you for watching.